They never see it coming when justice wears a simple black dress. A woman steps out of her rental car. Gravel crunches under her heels as she approaches Millbrook County Courthouse. The morning sun catches the brass nameplate by the entrance. Sheriff Dale Morrison notices her immediately. His hand moves to his radio. Detective Frank Collins flanks her left side. "Ma'am, you got business here?" Morrison's voice carries authority and suspicion. Victoria reaches for her briefcase. "Yes, sir. I have court this morning." "What kind of court?" Collins steps closer. Too close. She opens her purse for identification. Morrison's palm slams her shoulder against the car door. The briefcase tumbles. Papers scatter across the courthouse parking lot. Victoria says nothing. Her eyes memorize Morrison's badge number. Collins' badge, too. She notes the time on her watch. Morrison kicks the briefcase contents. Federal documents flutter in the morning breeze. Victoria checks her watch again. 18 minutes until court convenes. Court clerk Amanda Wilson watches from the courthouse steps. Her coffee cup trembles in her hands. She's seen police interactions before. This feels different. Morrison and Collins exchange glances. Federal documents mean federal problems, the kind that end careers. "You some kind of lawyer?" Morrison asks. His voice wavers slightly. Victoria kneels to collect her papers, each movement deliberate, calm. "Something like that." Collins' nervous laughs. "Federal types always cause problems around here, always stirring up trouble where there ain't none." A gust of wind catches a document marked Department of Justice. Morrison's boot comes down hard on it. Victoria's fingers close around the paper. She slides it into her briefcase without looking up. Her breathing stays steady. Even, like she's done this before. Amanda steps closer. Something about this woman commands respect. The way she carries herself. The expensive briefcase. The federal paperwork. "Ma'am," Amanda calls softly. "You need any assistance?" Morrison spins around. "Mind your business, Amanda. Get back inside." But Amanda doesn't move. She studies Victoria's face. Professional. Composed. Familiar somehow. Victoria stands. Brushes dust from her dress. "Thank you for your concern." Her voice carries quiet authority. The kind that comes from years behind a bench. Collins shifts nervously. "Look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot here." "Indeed." Victoria's eyes meet his. "Hold them." "We certainly did." She walks toward the courthouse entrance. Each step measured, purposeful. Amanda falls into step beside her. "Ma'am, forgive me asking, but are you here for the Morrison trial?" Victoria pauses at the heavy courthouse doors. Her reflection catches in the glass. For just a moment, Amanda glimpses something else. Someone else. In a manner of speaking, yes. The brass nameplate beside the door reads, "Judge Hayes presiding." Victoria's fingers trace the letters briefly. Amanda's eyes widen. Coffee spills from her forgotten cup. Morrison's radio crackles to life behind them. A voice cuts through the static. "Dispatch to all units. The federal judge has arrived at the courthouse." Morrison fumbles for his radio. His face drains of color. Victoria checks her watch one more time. 15 minutes. DA Rebecca Stone's heels click rapidly across the parking lot. She's seen the federal documents scattered on the ground, heard the radio chatter, her political instincts scream danger. "Gentlemen!" Stone's voice cuts through the morning air like a blade. "What exactly happened here?" Morrison straightens. "Just a routine interaction, ma'am." This woman was acting suspicious. Stone's eyes scan the federal paperwork still visible in Victoria's briefcase. Justice Department letterhead. Official seals. Her stomach tightens. "Define suspicious, Sheriff." Collins jumps in. "She wouldn't identify herself properly. Got aggressive when we asked questions." Victoria turns slowly. Her gaze settles on Stone with laser precision. Aggressive. That's an interesting choice of words, Detective. Stone steps forward, damage control mode activated. Ma'am, I'm sure this was all a misunderstanding. These officers were just doing their job. Were they? Victoria's voice carries a weight that makes Stone's confidence falter. Inside the courthouse, Amanda rushes to her desk. Her hands shake as she pulls up the court calendar. Judge Hayes, federal corruption case. The pieces click together like a puzzle solving itself. Stone forces a politician's smile. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. I'd hate for any miscommunication to escalate unnecessarily. Victoria tilts her head. Miscommunication? Is that what we're calling assault now? Now hold on, Morrison interjects. Nobody assaulted anybody. You shoved me against a vehicle. Kicked my personal property. In front of a witness. Victoria's recall is photographic, precise. At approximately 8:42 a.m. badge number 341. Stone's smile cracks. This woman isn't some random civil rights activist. Her language, her composure, the federal documents. Ma'am, with respect, maybe you should reconsider filing any formal complaints. These are good officers, pillar of the community types. A complaint could be misunderstood. Victoria's eyebrows rise slightly. Misunderstood by whom? Well, you know how these things go. Small town. People talk. Sometimes the truth gets complicated. Amanda appears in the courthouse doorway, her face pale but determined. Excuse me, Miss Stone. There's an urgent call for you. Stone waves her off. Not now, Amanda. Ma'am, it's about the federal judge. She's missing. The words hit like a physical blow. Morrison's face goes ashen. Collins takes an involuntary step backward. Victoria checks her watch again. Missing. How concerning. Stone's voice becomes a whisper. You're not just some civil rights lawyer, are you? Victoria's silence speaks volumes. She opens her briefcase with practiced precision. Files arranged perfectly. Legal documents bearing federal seals. A judicial robe folded neatly at the bottom. Morrison's radio crackles again. All units be advised. Federal marshals en route to courthouse. ETA 10 minutes. Collins grabs Morrison's arm. Dale, what if we just arrested a federal judge? Arrested? Victoria's voice carries newfound steel. I wasn't aware I'd been arrested, Detective. On what charges? Stone scrambles for control. There's been no arrest. Just a conversation. Conversation. Victoria nods slowly. Is that the official term for physical assault by law enforcement officers? Amanda steps closer, her loyalty to justice overriding her fear. Ma'am, I recorded everything on my phone. From the courthouse steps. Stone spins toward Amanda. You recorded what exactly? The assault. The federal documents being kicked around. Everything. Morrison's face reddens. You had no right to record anything. Actually, I had every right. Amanda's voice grows stronger. It's called transparency in government, Sheriff. Victoria allows herself a small smile, the first crack in her professional facade. Thank you, Amanda. Your dedication to documentation is admirable. Stone realizes the conversation has shifted completely out of her control. This woman isn't backing down, isn't intimidated, speaks like someone who's spent years in courtrooms. Ma'am, let's be reasonable here. Mistakes happen. We can work this out quietly. No need for federal involvement. Victoria studies Stone with the intensity of a judge weighing evidence. Federal involvement, Ms. Stone? But I thought this was just a simple misunderstanding between citizens. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Stone has walked directly into her own trap. Collins whispers urgently to Morrison, the federal judge. What if she's been here the whole time? Morrison's eyes lock onto Victoria's briefcase. The expensive leather, the federal documents, the judicial composure that never wavered even under physical assault. Jesus Christ, Morrison breathes. We attacked a federal judge. Victoria's expression doesn't change. Language, Sheriff. We are standing outside a courthouse, after all. Stone's political career flashes before her eyes. Your Honor, if that's what you are, surely we can resolve this professionally. Your Honor? Victoria repeats. Now that's interesting phrasing, Ms. Stone. What makes you think I deserve such a title? The question hangs in the air like a sword. Everyone knows the answer. Nobody wants to say it out loud. Amanda breaks the silence. Because you're Judge Victoria Hayes, and you're supposed to be presiding over the corruption trial this morning. Victoria checks her watch one final time. 9 minutes until court convenes. Morrison's knees buckle slightly. Collins reaches for his radio, then stops. What do you say? How do you explain assaulting the judge who's about to try your case? Stone makes one last desperate attempt. Your Honor, I'm sure we can work out some arrangement. Perhaps a postponement while we sort out these irregularities. Victoria's gaze could cut glass. Irregularities, Miss Stone? I prefer to call them felonies. The parking lot falls silent except for the sound of approaching sirens in the distance. Federal marshals, right on schedule. Stone's desperation transforms into calculated aggression. Her political survival instincts kick in. If she's going down, she's taking control of the narrative. Officers, I'm witnessing disorderly conduct. Her voice carries false authority. This woman is disrupting court proceedings. Morrison hesitates. Ma'am, I'm not sure that's... Sheriff Morrison, I'm ordering you to place this individual under arrest for disturbing the peace and interfering with judicial operations. Victoria remains perfectly still, her breathing steady, like she's watching a play unfold exactly as scripted. Collins looks between Stone and Victoria. D.A. Stone, maybe we should wait for the marshals. Detective Collins, are you refusing a direct order from the district attorney's office? The trap snaps shut. Collins reaches for his handcuffs with trembling fingers. Ma'am, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct. Victoria extends her hands calmly. What specific disorderly conduct, Detective? You were acting aggressively toward law enforcement officers. I see. And this aggressive behavior consisted of what actions exactly? Collins struggles with the handcuffs. His hands shake so badly he can barely work the mechanism. You were uncooperative. Uncooperative how? Victoria's voice remains level, clinical, like she's taking a deposition. Stone jumps in. You refused to properly identify yourself. Created a public disturbance. Interfered with police duties. Victoria nods thoughtfully. Interesting charges. Tell me, Ms. Stone, what's the standard booking procedure for disorderly conduct in this county? The question catches Stone off guard. What? Booking procedure. Fingerprints first or photograph? Do you process federal charges differently than state charges? What about bail hearings for judicial officers? Morrison stares at her. How do you know all that? Professional interest, Victoria replies smoothly. Amanda steps forward, phone still recording. This is illegal. You can't arrest someone for asking questions. Stone whirls on her. Amanda, stop recording immediately or you'll be charged with obstruction of justice. Actually, Victoria interjects, Amanda has every constitutional right to record public officials performing their duties. Perhaps you should review the First Amendment, Ms. Stone. Collins finally gets the handcuffs secured. The metal feels heavy against Victoria's wrists. She tests them briefly, checking the tightness with practiced knowledge. "These are properly adjusted," she notes approvingly. "Someone trained you well, detective." The comment unsettles Collins further. Most arrestees complain about handcuffs. They don't evaluate technique. Stone forces confidence into her voice. "Place her in holding until we can sort this out." Morrison escorts Victoria toward the courthouse. Her stride remains dignified despite the restraints, each step measured and purposeful. "Ma'am, you seem pretty calm for someone getting arrested," Morrison observes. "Should I be upset, Sheriff?" "Most people are." Victoria considers this. "Most people haven't spent their careers in courthouses, Sheriff." The process holds no mystery for me. Amanda follows, still recording. "This is a violation of civil rights." "Federal civil rights," Stone snaps. "Amanda, shut that phone off right now." "No, ma'am. This is public record, public space, public officials." Victoria glances back at Amanda with something approaching pride. "Well said." Inside the courthouse, Morrison guides Victoria toward the holding cell adjacent to the main courtroom. The irony isn't lost on anyone. The cell sits 20 feet from the judge's bench. "Funny thing about this cell," Morrison mutters. "You can see right into the courtroom from here." Victoria surveys the space through the barred window. "Excellent sight lines. Good acoustics, too, I imagine." "Yeah. Prisoners can hear everything that goes on during trials. How educational for them." Morrison locks the cell door. The sound echoes through the courthouse hallway. Victoria immediately moves to the window, studying the empty judge's bench across the room. Collins paces nervously. "Dale, what time does federal court convene?" 9 sharp. Always 9 sharp. Victoria checks her watch through the bars. 7 minutes. Amanda appears at the cell. Her voice drops to a whisper. "Your Honor, what do you need me to do?" Victoria's eyes meet hers, the first real warmth she's shown all morning. "Document everything, Amanda. Every word, every action, every violation of procedure." "Already doing it, ma'am." Stone storms over. "Amanda, step away from that cell immediately." "Why?" "She's legally allowed visitors." "She's not legally anything right now. She's in custody pending investigation." Victoria speaks quietly from behind the bars. "Investigation into what specific crimes, Ms. Stone?" Stone's silence speaks volumes. From outside, sirens grow louder, federal marshals closing in. Victoria settles onto the cell bench, completely composed. Punctuality is important in the justice system. Amanda rushes to her desk, hands trembling as she pulls up the court schedule on her computer. Judge Hayes, 9 a.m. Federal corruption trial. The timeline doesn't add up. She scrolls through emails, phone logs, appointment calendars. No communication from Judge Hayes about delays. No rescheduling requests. Nothing. Other courthouse staff begin filtering in for the morning shift. Bailiff Thomas Anderson checks his watch and frowns. "Amanda, where's Judge Hayes? Court starts in 6 minutes." Amanda's throat tightens. "There's been a situation." "What kind of situation?" Before she can answer, her phone buzzes with a text from her supervisor. "Federal judge's office called." Judge Hayes left her hotel an hour ago. Should have arrived by now. Anderson peers through the courthouse window toward the parking lot. Stone, Morrison, and Collins huddle in animated conversation. "What's all that about?" Amanda makes a decision that will define her career. "Tom, I need you to see something." She pulls up the video on her phone. Anderson watches in growing horror as Morrison shoves a woman against a car, as Collins kicks her briefcase, as federal documents scatter in the wind. "Jesus, Amanda, who is that woman?" "Is that?" Amanda's voice barely whispers. "I think it's Judge Hayes." Anderson's face goes white. The judge? They arrested the federal judge? Shh. Amanda glances around nervously. We need to be smart about this. She opens Victoria's scattered briefcase papers that she'd collected earlier. Official letterhead catches her eye. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Judicial Administration Office. One document makes her blood freeze. It's a letter addressed to Judge Victoria Hayes, confirming her appointment to oversee United States vs. Morrison, Collins, and Stone. Corruption charges, racketeering, civil rights violations. Tom, look at this. She shows him the appointment letter. Anderson reads in silence. His expression shifts from confusion to understanding to absolute terror. They arrested the judge who's supposed to try their corruption case. It gets worse. Amanda pulls up another document. FBI surveillance authorization, 18 months of investigation. Of them. Morrison, Collins, and Stone are the primary targets. Amanda, this woman isn't just a judge. She's been investigating them for over a year. They look toward the holding cell where Victoria sits calmly, studying the courtroom through barred windows. She appears to be taking mental notes, making observations, like she's preparing for something. Amanda's phone rings. Federal Marshal's Service. Millbrook County Courthouse, Amanda speaking. Ma'am, this is Marshal James Wright. We're looking for Judge Victoria Hayes. She was scheduled to arrive 30 minutes ago. Amanda glances toward Stone, still conferring with Morrison and Collins in the parking lot. Marshal Wright, there's been an incident. What kind of incident? She's here. But she's in custody. Dead silence on the line. Then, excuse me? Local law enforcement arrested her. The same officers she's scheduled to try for corruption this morning. The line goes quiet for so long, Amanda thinks the call dropped. Finally, ma'am, did you just tell me that Judge Hayes was arrested by the defendants in her own corruption trial? Yes, sir. We're 2 minutes out. Nobody moves that judge until we arrive. Amanda hangs up and turns to Anderson. Federal marshals incoming. Anderson shakes his head in disbelief. Those idiots have no idea what they've done. Through the window, they watch Stone gesture angrily at Morrison and Collins. Her body language screams panic, damage control, political survival. Amanda approaches the holding cell. Victoria sits with perfect posture, hands folded in her lap. Despite the handcuffs, despite the concrete bench, she projects authority. Your Honor, Amanda whispers. Victoria turns. Her expression remains neutral, but her eyes hold warmth. Yes, Amanda? The marshals are almost here. They know what happened. Good. And the documentation? Amanda holds up her phone. Everything recorded. Plus, I collected all your official papers after they scattered them. Including the surveillance authorization? Yes, ma'am. 18 months of FBI investigation into corruption charges. Victoria allows herself a small nod of approval. Thorough work. Your Honor, can I ask you something? Of course. You knew this would happen, didn't you? The arrest, the setup, all of it. Victoria's silence confirms Amanda's suspicion. This wasn't random, wasn't accidental. This was orchestrated. How long have you been planning this? Amanda, sometimes justice requires patience. Sometimes it requires allowing corrupt officials to reveal themselves completely before bringing them to account. Stone's voice carries across the courthouse as she argues with Morrison. Federal judge or not, we control the narrative here. Anderson joins Amanda at the cell. Your Honor, with respect, they just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Victoria checks her watch. 2 minutes until court convenes. Through the courthouse windows, they see federal vehicles approaching. Black SUVs with government plates. Marshal Service. FBI. The cavalry arriving exactly on schedule. Stone notices them too. Her arguing intensifies. She's gesturing wildly now, clearly trying to coordinate some kind of response. Amanda's phone buzzes with another call. This time, it's the governor's office. "Ma'am, we understand there's been an incident involving a federal judge in your courthouse. The story is spreading. Fast. Up the chain of command. Media will be next." Victoria remains perfectly calm in her cell, like she's waiting for a scheduled appointment. Which, Amanda realizes, she probably is. "Your Honor, what happens next?" "Next, Amanda, we let the system work as intended. Federal marshals will take custody, I'll be released, and court will convene as scheduled." "And then?" Victoria's smile is barely perceptible. "Then we begin the corruption trial that Morrison, Collins, and Stone just handed me on a silver platter." Anderson laughs despite himself. "They built your entire case for you." "Indeed they did. Assault on a federal officer, conspiracy to obstruct justice, civil rights violations under color of law, all documented, all witnessed, all recorded." Amanda stares at her in admiration. "You set them up." "I gave them an opportunity to reveal their true character, Amanda." They chose how to respond. The federal vehicles screech to a halt outside. Doors slam. Heavy footsteps approach the courthouse. Stone's voice rises to near panic levels in the parking lot. Victoria stands, smoothing her dress despite the handcuffs. Punctuality, Amanda. The foundation of any well-run courtroom. Marshal Wright bursts through the courthouse doors, followed by 3 other agents. His face is thunderous. "Where is Judge Hayes?" Amanda points toward the holding cell. "There, sir." Wright takes one look at Victoria in handcuffs behind bars, and his expression becomes homicidal. "Who did this?" Marshal Wright's radio crackles as he surveys the scene. Victoria Hayes, federal judge, sitting calmly in a county holding cell. His 20 years of service have never prepared him for this level of institutional stupidity. "Control, this is Wright. We have a Code 7 situation. Repeat Code 7. His team spreads out instantly. Professional, efficient." Amanda has never seen federal agents move this fast. Outside, Stone realizes the game has changed completely. Federal badges flash in the morning sunlight. Black suits, serious faces, the kind of people who don't negotiate. "Marshal Wright," Victoria calls from the cell. Her voice carries no urgency, no panic. "Right on time." Wright approaches the bars, his face a mask of barely controlled fury. "Judge Hayes, are you injured?" "Physically, no. Professionally, we'll see." "Ma'am, who authorized this arrest?" Victoria nods toward the parking lot. "District Attorney Stone. Sheriff Morrison executed it. Detective Collins assisted." Wright's jaw tightens. Each name gets logged, remembered, filed for future reference. Amanda steps forward. "Marshal Wright, I have video documentation of the entire incident. Send it to this number immediately." Wright hands her a card. "Federal evidence protocols apply from this moment forward." Stone finally enters the courthouse, flanked by Morrison and Collins. Her political smile looks painted on, desperate. "Marshal Wright, thank goodness you're here. We've had a terrible misunderstanding." Wright doesn't look at her. "The only misunderstanding, Ms. Stone, is thinking you could arrest a federal judge without consequences. Now see here, you were just committing multiple federal felonies." Wright's voice could freeze hell. "In broad daylight, in front of witnesses, while being recorded." Collins clears his throat nervously. "Marshal, maybe we could discuss this privately." "Detective Collins, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." The courthouse falls dead silent. Even the air conditioning seems to stop humming. Victoria checks her watch through the bars. 30 seconds until court convenes. Wright produces his keys. Federal override authority. No local official can stop him now. Judge Hayes, federal custody transfer is authorized. "Thank you, Marshal." "Amanda, could you retrieve my judicial robes from the briefcase?" Amanda moves like she's in a dream. This morning started with coffee and paperwork. Now she's handing federal judicial robes through prison bars. Stone makes one last desperate play. Marshal Wright, surely we can work out some arrangement. Postpone court until this situation is resolved. Wright's laugh holds no humor. Ms. Stone, court convenes in 15 seconds. Judge Hayes will be presiding, as scheduled. Morrison finally speaks. His voice cracks slightly. Marshal, how long do federal judges serve? Life tenure, Sheriff. Life tenure. The implications hit like physical blows. Victoria isn't just their judge for today. She's their judge forever. Every future case, every appeal, every legal proceeding in their careers will potentially cross her bench. Victoria slips into her judicial robes with practiced ease. The transformation is immediate, complete. The woman who was assaulted in the parking lot disappears. Judge Victoria Hayes emerges. Court convenes in 5 seconds. Her voice now carries full judicial authority. Wright unlocks the cell door. It swings open with a sound like thunder. Stone's political career dies in that moment. Morrison's law enforcement career dies. Collins's future dies. Victoria steps out of the cell and walks directly toward the judge's bench. Justice is about to be served. Victoria ascends to the judge's bench with measured steps. Her judicial robes flow behind her like a cape of authority. The gavel feels familiar in her hand. Home. All rise. The Federal District Court for the Southern District of Georgia is now in session. The Honorable Victoria Hayes presiding. Amanda's voice carries across the courtroom with newfound strength. She's no longer just a clerk. She's a witness to history. Morrison, Collins, and Stone stand reluctantly, their faces ashen, their careers ending in real time. Victoria settles into her chair and surveys the courtroom with judicial precision. Before we address the scheduled corruption trial, this court will address immediate matters that have come to its attention. Marshal Wright positions himself directly behind the defendant's table. His hand rests casually near his weapon. Sheriff Morrison, Detective Collins, District Attorney Stone approach the bench. They shuffle forward like condemned prisoners, which, Victoria realizes with satisfaction, they essentially are. This morning at approximately 8:42 a.m., I was physically assaulted in the parking lot of this courthouse. Victoria's voice carries no emotion. Pure judicial objectivity. Sheriff Morrison, you shoved me against a vehicle. Correct? Morrison's throat works soundlessly. Finally, Your Honor, I didn't know. The question requires a yes or no answer, Sheriff. Did you physically assault me? Yes, Your Honor. Detective Collins, you kicked my personal property across the parking lot, correct? Collins stares at his feet. Yes, Your Honor. District Attorney Stone, you then fabricated charges and ordered my arrest, correct? Stone's political instincts kick in one last time. Your Honor, there were legitimate concerns about... Ms. Stone, yes or no? Did you fabricate disorderly conduct charges against me? The courtroom holds its breath. Stone's entire career balances on her next words. Yes, Your Honor. Victoria nods slowly. Thank you for your honesty. Belated though it may be. She opens a thick file on her bench. Amanda recognizes it immediately. The FBI investigation file. 18 months of evidence. Now, using my photographic memory, I will recite your exact words during this morning's incident. Victoria's voice becomes clinical, precise. Sheriff Morrison, at 8:43 a.m., you stated, and I quote, "Federal types always cause problems around here, always stirring up trouble where there ain't none." Morrison's face drains of remaining color. Detective Collins, at 8:44 a.m., you stated, "Maybe we got off on the wrong foot here. This after participating in assault on a federal officer. Collins looks physically ill. District Attorney Stone, at 8:51 a.m., you stated, "Perhaps you should reconsider filing any formal complaints. These are good officers. A complaint could be misunderstood. This constitutes attempted intimidation of a federal judge." Stone grips the defense table for support. Victoria continues with mechanical precision. At 8:53 a.m., you stated, "Small town, people talk. Sometimes the truth gets complicated. This constitutes attempted obstruction of justice." Amanda holds up her phone from the clerk's desk. "Your Honor, I have audio and video documentation of all statements." "Thank you, Amanda. Please transmit all recordings to Marshal Wright for federal evidence processing." Wright nods grimly. "Already in progress, Your Honor." Victoria leans forward slightly. "Gentlemen, Miss Stone, in my 30 years of judicial service, I have never encountered such blatant contempt for federal authority." Morrison finds his voice. "Your Honor, we truly didn't know." "Sheriff Morrison, ignorance is not a defense for assault. Detective Collins, you are trained law enforcement officers. You know proper procedure. Ms. Stone, you are a legal professional. You understand constitutional rights." She pauses, letting the weight of their actions settle. "Your behavior this morning demonstrates exactly why this courthouse has been under federal investigation for 18 months. The bombshell lands perfectly. Stone staggers slightly. Morrison grabs Collins' arm for support. "Investigation, Your Honor." Stone's voice barely whispers. "FBI investigation into corruption, racketeering, and civil rights violations. You are the primary subjects of that investigation." Victoria allows herself a moment of satisfaction. Justice delayed is not justice denied. Sometimes it's justice perfected. "Marshal Wright, please read the defendants their rights. Federal charges will be filed within the hour." Wright steps forward with practiced efficiency. "Morrison, Collins, Stone, you are under arrest for assault on a federal officer, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and civil rights violations under color of law." The Miranda warnings echo through the courthouse like funeral bells. Victoria checks her watch. "This court will take a brief recess before proceeding with the original corruption trial. Justice, after all, must be thorough." Her gavel strikes the bench with the sound of thunder. Amanda smiles for the first time all morning. Justice isn't just blind. Sometimes it's patient, too. The courtroom erupts in whispers as federal agents escort Morrison, Collins, and Stone toward the exit. Their handcuffs catch the overhead lights. Their careers disappear in real time. Victoria removes her reading glasses and cleans them slowly. The gesture appears casual, but Amanda recognizes the ritual. Judge Hayes always cleans her glasses before delivering major rulings. "Amanda, please note for the record, federal custody transfer complete. Defendants remanded without bail pending arraignment." "Yes, Your Honor." Amanda's fingers fly across her keyboard, every word documented, every moment preserved. Marshal Wright approaches the bench. "Judge Hayes, federal prosecutors are en route from Atlanta. Media is assembling outside." Victoria nods calmly. "Expected. This case will generate significant attention. Through the courthouse windows, news vans begin arriving, reporters setting up cameras. The story is breaking nationwide. Federal judge assaulted by corrupt officials. Justice served in real time." Bailiff Anderson shakes his head in amazement. "Your Honor, in 20 years of court service, I've never seen anything like this morning." "Nor have I, Tom. Nor have I." Victoria stands, her robes settling around her like armor. She surveys her courtroom with satisfaction. Justice has been served. The system has worked. Constitutional protections have prevailed. "Amanda, what's our next scheduled case?" Amanda checks her calendar, though they both know the answer. United States v. Morrison, Collins, and Stone. Corruption charges, racketeering, civil rights violations. Ah, yes. Victoria's smile is barely perceptible. The case that started 18 months ago. She opens the thick FBI file on her bench. Photographs spill out. Wiretap transcripts. Financial records. Bank statements showing suspicious deposits. A complete federal investigation laid bare. 18 months of patient work, surveillance, documentation, building an airtight case against systematic corruption. Amanda realizes the full scope of what she's witnessed. Your Honor, this morning wasn't random, was it? Amanda, federal judges don't make unannounced visits to remote courthouses. Every appearance is scheduled, planned, purposeful. The pieces click into place. The rental car instead of official transport. The casual dress instead of judicial robes. The deliberate walk across the parking lot where Morrison and Collins could see her. Victoria wanted to be confronted, wanted them to reveal their true nature, wanted them to commit federal crimes in broad daylight with witnesses and cameras rolling. You gave them every opportunity to do the right thing. Indeed. They chose otherwise. Victoria checks her watch one final time. 15 minutes until the corruption trial begins. Justice, Amanda, is best served methodically. Victoria opens the FBI file completely. Documents cascade across her bench like an avalanche of evidence. 18 months of investigation spilling into the light. Amanda, please call in all federal prosecutors, FBI agents, and media representatives. This court will now reveal the full scope of United States versus Morrison, Collins, and Stone. The courtroom fills rapidly. Federal agents in dark suits, prosecutors carrying boxes of evidence, reporters with notebooks and cameras, the gallery packed beyond capacity. Victoria's voice carries absolute authority. Ladies and gentlemen, what you witnessed this morning was the conclusion of the most comprehensive corruption investigation in this district's history. She holds up the first photograph. Morrison accepting an envelope outside a local restaurant. Sheriff Morrison, this image was captured 6 months ago. You're receiving $5,000 from a drug dealer named Carlos Mendez. Morrison, now in federal custody, stares at the evidence in horror. Detective Collins, this recording is from 8 months ago. Victoria activates a digital player. Collins's voice fills the courtroom. Just make sure the evidence disappears before trial. 20 grand, like we discussed. Collins slumps in his chair. His lawyer frantically takes notes. District Attorney Stone, these bank records show deposits totaling $2.3 million over the past 2 years, all from defendants whose cases you mysteriously dropped or reduced. Stone's face goes gray as the financial documents project onto courtroom screens. Victoria continues methodically. Each piece of evidence building on the last, a masterpiece of federal investigation revealed layer by layer. For 18 months, I've been working undercover with the Department of Justice, FBI agents, federal prosecutors, building a case that would expose the complete corruption of this county's law enforcement system. She holds up more photographs. Morrison meeting with known criminals, Collins tampering with evidence lockers, Stone accepting briefcases full of cash in courthouse parking lots. This morning's assault was not random. It was the final test of your character, your last opportunity to demonstrate basic respect for federal authority. Amanda realizes she's been holding her breath. The scope of corruption is staggering. Instead, you chose to physically assault a federal judge, to fabricate charges, to attempt intimidation and obstruction of justice, all while being recorded by multiple sources. Victoria activates another audio file. Stone's voice from that morning. Small town. People talk. Sometimes the truth gets complicated. Ms. Stone, the truth is never complicated. It simply requires patience to uncover completely. Federal Prosecutor James Mitchell steps forward. Your Honor, the government has additional evidence. Wiretapped phone conversations spanning 14 months. Proceed, Mr. Mitchell. Mitchell activates the playback system. Morrison's voice fills the courtroom. The federal heat's getting too close. We need to shut down operations until this blows over. Collins responds, What about the judge? What if she starts asking questions? Stone's voice. Federal judges can be handled. We've done it before. The courtroom gasps. threatening a federal judge, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. The charges multiply in real time. Victoria's expression never changes. Professional, judicial, impartial. Mr. Mitchell, please summarize the complete charges for the record. Your Honor, the federal government charges Sheriff Morrison, Detective Collins, and District Attorney Stone with the following: racketeering under RICO statutes, conspiracy to violate civil rights under color of law, bribery of public officials, money laundering, obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, and as of this morning, assault on a federal officer. Each charge hits like a physical blow. Morrison looks physically ill. Collins stares at his hands. Stone appears catatonic. Victoria opens another file. More photographs. These images show the extent of your criminal enterprise. Drug evidence tampered with or destroyed. Criminal defendants paying for case dismissals. Witness intimidation. A systematic corruption of justice spanning 3 years. FBI agent Sarah Davis approaches the bench. Your Honor, we have additional evidence from this morning. Hidden body camera footage from Detective Collins' own equipment. Show the court. The footage plays on courtroom screens. Morrison shoving Victoria against the car. Collins kicking her briefcase. Federal documents scattering. The assault captured from the perpetrator's own camera. Detective Collins, your own body camera documented your federal crimes. Collins' lawyer leans over to whisper frantically in his ear. Plea bargain negotiations beginning before the evidence presentation ends. Victoria holds up financial documents. Bank records show payments to 37 different criminal defendants over 2 years. Charges dropped in exchange for cash payments ranging from $5,000 to $50,000. The mathematics of corruption. Cold, calculated, systematic. Victims include domestic violence survivors whose attackers bought dismissals, drug dealers who purchased evidence tampering, drunk drivers who paid for reduced charges. Your corruption didn't just steal money, it denied justice to vulnerable victims. Amanda wipes tears from her eyes, the human cost of corruption laid bare. Victoria's voice grows steel-hard. This morning, when you assaulted me, you weren't just attacking a federal judge. You were attacking the constitutional principle that justice is equal for all citizens. She stands, her robes flowing like the wings of avenging angels. For 18 months, I've documented every crime, every payoff, every violation of your sworn oaths to protect and serve. This morning's assault was simply the final piece of evidence in a comprehensive federal case. Morrison finally speaks, his voice barely a whisper. Your Honor, we didn't know. Sheriff Morrison, you knew exactly what you were doing. The evidence is overwhelming. The documentation is complete. The investigation is concluded. Victoria surveys the packed courtroom. Justice isn't just blind. Sometimes it's patient. Sometimes it builds cases methodically, brick by brick, until the weight of evidence becomes undeniable. Mr. Mitchell, what is the government's sentencing recommendation? Your Honor, given the scope of corruption, the systematic violation of civil rights, and this morning's assault on federal authority, the government seeks maximum sentences under federal guidelines. Life imprisonment for racketeering, additional consecutive sentences for each civil rights violation. The words echo through the courthouse like death sentences, because that's exactly what they are. The death of 3 careers, the death of a corrupt system, the birth of justice restored. Victoria checks her watch one final time. This court will recess for lunch. Sentencing will commence at 2 p.m. Her gavel strikes with the finality of a closing tomb. Justice, after 18 months of patience, has finally arrived. 2 hours later, the courtroom stands packed beyond capacity. National media crews line the walls. Legal scholars fill the gallery. This sentencing will become a landmark case in federal jurisprudence. Victoria returns to her bench with absolute composure. Her robes seem to carry the weight of constitutional authority, justice personified. Please be seated. Court is in session. Morrison, Collins, and Stone sit at the defendant's table in orange federal jumpsuits, their expensive suits replaced by prison uniforms, their badges and authority stripped away forever. Before this court proceeds to sentencing, I want to address the broader implications of this case. Victoria's voice carries to every corner of the courthouse. Today we witnessed corruption so systematic, so brazen, that it threatened the very foundations of our judicial system. She opens the sentencing guidelines, federal recommendations, life imprisonment available under RICO statutes. Sheriff Morrison, for 30 years you wore a badge that represents justice, protection, and service. Instead, you used that badge to extort money from criminals and deny justice to victims. Morrison stares at his handcuffed wrists. His attorney sits silent. No defense possible against such overwhelming evidence. Detective Collins, you swore an oath to protect evidence, pursue truth, and uphold constitutional rights. Instead, you tampered with evidence, destroyed truth, and violated the rights of every citizen you encountered. Collins' face streams with tears. Too late for remorse. Justice doesn't negotiate with corruption. District Attorney Stone, you held the highest prosecutorial office in this county. Citizens trusted you to seek justice impartially. Instead, you sold justice to the highest bidder. Stone remains motionless. Her political career dead, her legal career finished, her freedom measured in decades. Victoria stands for the sentencing. The moment carries historical weight. The evidence presented reveals $2.3 million in bribes, 37 cases corrupted, dozens of victims denied justice, 3 years of systematic criminal enterprise. She pauses, letting the magnitude settle. But this morning's assault reveals something deeper. When confronted with federal authority, you chose violence over accountability. When faced with justice, you chose cover-up over confession. When given final opportunities for redemption, you chose corruption. Amanda records every word, history being written in real time. Sheriff Morrison, this court sentences you to life imprisonment under federal racketeering statutes, additional consecutive sentences totaling 45 years for civil rights violations, bribery, and assault on a federal officer. Morrison's legs buckle. His attorney catches him. Detective Collins, this court sentences you to life imprisonment under federal racketeering statutes, additional consecutive sentences totaling 40 years for evidence tampering, conspiracy, and assault on a federal officer. Collins collapses into his chair. His career, his family, his future erased by judicial proclamation. District Attorney Stone, this court sentences you to life imprisonment under federal racketeering statutes, additional consecutive sentences totaling 50 years for conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction of justice, and violation of prosecutorial ethics. Stone shows no reaction. Shock has numbed her completely. Victoria's voice carries absolute finality. These sentences reflect not just punishment for individual crimes, but a message to every public official who might consider corruption. Federal justice is patient, thorough, and inevitable. The courtroom remains silent except for the scratch of reporters' pens and the hum of television cameras. Amanda Wilson, please approach the bench. Amanda stands nervously. She's been a court clerk for 8 years, never been called forward during sentencing. Ms. Wilson, your courage this morning in documenting assault on federal authority, your loyalty to justice over personal safety, and your commitment to truth over convenience represent the best qualities of public service. Amanda's eyes fill with tears. Therefore, this court recommends you for immediate promotion to Chief Court Administrator for the Southern District of Georgia. Your dedication to justice has been exemplary. The courtroom erupts in applause. Justice rewarding courage, the system working as designed. Victoria raises her hand for silence. This case will be studied in law schools across America, not just for its legal precedents, but for its moral lessons. She addresses the packed gallery directly. Today, we learned that justice wears many faces. Sometimes it appears as a vulnerable woman walking alone across a courthouse parking lot. Sometimes it carries a briefcase full of federal documents. Sometimes it allows itself to be handcuffed and caged, waiting patiently for truth to emerge. Her words carry the weight of constitutional principle. But justice always emerges, always prevails, always holds corruption accountable, no matter how systematic, how protected, how confident it appears. Victoria surveys the courtroom one final time. Federal agents, prosecutors, reporters, and citizens, all bearing witness to institutional redemption. The corruption that infected this courthouse for 3 years ends today. The culture of impunity dies with these sentences. The message goes forth that federal authority protects every citizen equally, regardless of race, status, or circumstance. She lifts her gavel for the final time. This court's investigation began 18 months ago with a simple premise. Justice delayed is not justice denied if the delay ensures justice is complete. Today, that premise is vindicated. Amanda wipes tears of joy and relief. The system worked. Slowly, patiently, methodically, but it worked. Let this case stand as proof that our constitutional system, when properly applied, protects the innocent and punishes the guilty. Let it demonstrate that federal authority exists not to oppress, but to ensure equal justice under law. Victoria's gavel strikes the bench with thunderous finality. Court is adjourned. Justice is served. The courtroom explodes in applause as federal agents escort Morrison, Collins, and Stone toward their new home in federal prison. Victoria removes her robes slowly, carefully. Justice isn't a costume to be worn. It's a principle to be lived. Amanda approaches the bench one final time. Your Honor, how did you stay so calm through everything? Victoria smiles with genuine warmth. Amanda, justice requires patience. But patience, properly applied, makes justice inevitable. Outside, the sun shines on a cleaner courthouse, a redeemed system, a restored faith in American justice. Sometimes justice wears a simple black dress, and sometimes that's exactly what the world needs.